I've been receiving a lot of calls lately. My phone started ringing early this morning, and it's continued to ring all morning, about the gutter campaign that the Progressive Labour Party continued to run. And people wanted me to respond to another advert in the paper today. But you know what? It's not worth me even responding, because it is outright nonsense. And so I'll do the pleasure of ripping it up and throwing it in the bin where it deserves. We need to get to a higher level. If we're going to stand on leadership, if we're going to stand and show people that we're committed to serve, we need to show people what we stand for. And slanging back and forth with smear is something that any of us can do at our lowest moments. We will stay on the high road, but I do believe we should show the people of Bermuda we will not accept or tolerate this type of behavior.
We've recently seen this week an example of gutter politics at its lowest. And I'm particularly talking about the advertisement that featured my colleague Wayne Scott, characterizing him as a puppet. This is unacceptable. It is offensive. It's offensive to all of us, and I think it's offensive to all Bermudians. To use racial stereotyping as a political weapon is totally unacceptable in today's Bermuda. Quite frankly, it makes this whole so-called big conversation a fraud, an utter fraud. Bermuda needs leadership that can build bridges, not drive wedges. Bermuda needs leadership that can heal wounds, not rub salt in those wounds for political purposes. We need to do better than this. I think the Bermudian people deserve better than this. We're going to provide it.
I would submit that maybe there is an appropriate time that one ought to pause and to hear a word, to be still. Because what I would have thought is that if somebody who had some kind of oversight over the Berkeley project would have stopped to hear a word from somebody else, $50 million of your money would not have been wasted in cost overruns. I can certainly attest to the fact that had I been responsible for the Ministry of Finance, those types of things, that level of lack of accountability would never, ever happen. The people of Bermuda deserve better. And maybe, just maybe, somebody from the government just needs to be still for a moment and listen to a word from somebody else.
I think Bob Richards chose the right word when he said it's a fraud. And I'll tell you why. It's time to call the Progressive Labour Party out on advertisements like this. If you go on the Progressive Labour Party website, you will find on there a video of a speech, might have been an interview, that was being given by a first-time candidate for the Progressive Labour Party, one Wayne Keynes. If you go through the video towards the end, you will see him struggle for a word. He struggles not once, but twice, and he has to be helped by a colleague who sits off to his right and whispers the word in his ear. No one called him a puppet. I dare say the Progressive Labour Party will agree that he is a puppet. But as Bob said, we all know what's going on here. And regrettably, my colleagues, my black colleagues in the United Bermuda Party, have to endure this type of criticism. It's not really a criticism, is it? It's offensive and insulting that somehow, for some reason, there's something less because they're black and members of the United Bermuda Party. And that type of stereotype thinking, Bob, you're absolutely right. It has no place in any conversation on race, big or otherwise. And I call upon the people of Bermuda to recognize it for what it is.
Absolutely.
It's not conversation, it's trash talk. It's trash talk of the worst sort. And people will have an opportunity on the 18th to put an end to it and tell the Progressive Labour Party what they really think about that.
The allegations made this morning that public money was used in part to pay for the construction of Dr. Hewitt Brown's private home are so serious that the Premier himself needs to give the country an explanation. According to a report in today's Mid-Ocean News, based on reported official bank statements, $400,000 of Bermuda Housing Corporation funding was paid to a company doing work on Dr. Brown's mansion after the Premier allegedly refused to pay the company for cost overruns involved in the project. The company carrying out the work on Dr. Brown's home was Bermuda Composite Construction Company, part owned by Zane De Silva, candidate for constituency number 30, Southampton East Central. According to the report, and I quote, "The BHC funds were used to pay off vendors and subcontractors owed money following the completion of Dr. Brown's house." These allegations could not be more serious. The Bermuda Housing Corporation was established many years ago to provide housing for the hard-working people of Bermuda. If this report, as alleged, is true, hundreds of thousands of dollars of public money was used in part to pay for construction of the home of Dr. Hewitt Brown. And the people of Bermuda are entitled to know the facts. In 11 days' time, the people of Bermuda go to the polls to make a very important decision about the future of our beloved island home. It is imperative that Dr. Brown himself answer these grave allegations before the election. These allegations go to the very heart of what this election is all about. The people of Bermuda have the right to know. They have the right to know if their leadership has the integrity, are trustworthy, and are transparent in dealing with the public purse. This matter also underscores what the United Bermuda Party has been saying since day one of the Bermuda Housing Corporation scandal, that there must be a full and transparent investigation to what took place in the Bermuda Housing Corporation.
We were as upset and shocked at the newspapers as was anybody. We read about it for the first time in today's Mid-Ocean. To hear the allegations as they have been made are frightening.
This whole sordid, sorry mess underscores one thing, and that is the need for legislative reform to bring about better governance in Bermuda. We believe, and it is part of our platform as well, with these measures for better governance, something like this may never have happened. It may have been caught earlier. And thirdly, that the people of Bermuda would get, as a matter of course, as a matter of doing the country's business, a full and thorough explanation of what has occurred with public funding. Some of the measures that are in our platform that would bring this about are a beefed up Public Accounts Committee, which is a bipartisan committee, which has oversight over government contracts and government spending. We would also bring about integrity in public office legislation, which would deal precisely through a code of conduct on financial dealings by parliamentarians with government money. The third thing we would include is whistleblower legislation, so that civil servants have a clear code that they can follow in terms of addressing things like this that come to their attention. And the fourth thing is perfectly clear on this, and we have been since 2003, that we would immediately introduce a Freedom of Information Act.
Hear, hear.
We believe that these measures ought to be in place. They're part of a modern parliamentary jurisdiction, and Bermuda should be no exception. And they may not be in the best interests of the Progressive Labor Party government. And they may not be in the best interests of the United Bermuda Party. But they are, we believe, and we are committed to this, in the best interests of the people of Bermuda.